Hello everybody, welcome to this week's Dissecting Design. After going through Dark Souls 2, which is considered the black sheep or the worst mechanically speaking of the Souls-likes, I needed a palate cleanser. And what better game to play than Bloodborne? The game that occupies a really weird space in terms of From Software's lineup. It's not exactly a spiritual successor or a spiritual sequel, but it occupies like a different slice of the Souls-like gameplay. And that's what we're going to talk about today, and how there's a lot that has to go on behind the scenes to make this kind of design work, and the subtle unique things Bloodborne did to separate it from Demon Souls and the rest of the Dark Souls franchise. But I'm going to be jumping between a new character and my character that I managed to platinum the game with to discuss the various systems and differences in design. So, to begin with, I am going to start a new character, and we're going to talk about the basics of Souls-like and Bloodborne's design. Alright everybody, welcome back. So, I made past the first part of the intro here. We're now in Yharnam proper. So, Bloodborne takes place in an entirely new land, completely divorced from the world of Dark Souls. We are a hunter who apparently arrived in this town where everybody has gone nuts. Our mission is to try and figure out how to stop what's happened here, and of course hunt all manner of crazy beasts. Now, the basic foundation of Dark Souls is definitely on display here in Bloodborne. We have a light attack, we have a heavy, I have a gun as well, and of course we'll be using items to heal. But, as anyone who's played Bloodborne knows, there are some major differences. But, we'll talk about those over the next few minutes. As with the Souls-like formula, the levels are designed around essentially these massive hubs, where we'll unlock shortcuts, which will remain permanently open. Oh, you're dead. Now, one of the major differences in Bloodborne compared to Dark Souls, especially Dark Souls 2, is how agile the main character is. If you watch my play of Dark Souls 2, you notice just how clunky both movement, combat, and dodging was. In Bloodborne, this is like, it feels like I'm playing a supercar compared to Dark Souls 2's Jalopy. There are no additional ways to gain iframes while you're rolling. Everybody has the same. Now, we'll talk more about weapon design and customization later in, but one of the more interesting aspects behind Bloodborne is that there aren't as many weapons. Instead, we have very diverse weapons that are of a smaller group. So my cane here, which may look all nice and fancy, I can do this in 1 second. That's right, it's become a whip. Whip it good. Ooh. And this is one of the main differences of Bloodborne in terms of growing the design. I can transition from basic to extended while I'm attacking. So for instance, I'm going to turn on my whip, and you'll basically continue the attack, but in your different stance. And every weapon in the game has that. Oop, did not mean to do that one. Again, I played Dark Souls 2 so much that it's kind of like I have to get back into the swing of things. And I expect to die many times in this play. Now, there's a bad old guy right over there that, considering my out of practice item, I am not going to attempt. You may also notice that I am not using a shield, and that is not because of a preference. In Bloodborne, there are no blocking, or there's no blocking in this game. There's also no backstabs in the traditional sense. Instead, I need to do a charge attack to stun. Because if I try to do it normally, it doesn't work. So this looks like the opportunity to do some whipping. Ow! Someone just shot me. Now, another interesting thing is that you can regain health by striking enemies. You saw that right on my health bar at the top left. Uh-oh. But I cannot regain more than what I lost from the attack. Ow. Whip. Ow. Uh-oh. That ain't good. So, the other way to parry is to do these kinds of punishments. Let's see if I can get it to work. You need to time your bullet or your gunshot just as the enemy is about to hit. Now these guys we're not really worrying about. The blood vials are my health in this game. And take a note of that, because that will come back to play in a later section. As with any Dark Souls game, everything is hard-coded. There's no... There we go, perfect. Boom. And you can even do that on several of the bosses. But, as I was saying, there are no random elements in the main game of Bloodborne. Everything is designed around these set environments. Oh! How dare you hit me while I'm talking to people? That was rude. Where was I? Oh, yes. And this creates the very interesting level designs that the Souls-like series, or Soulsborne, is known for. Ow. Oh, he fell. Whoa! Hey, buddy. Now, this weapon is not the strongest starting out. It's designed to have utility, being able to hit multiple enemies in whip form. And just like in Dark Souls, fighting multiple enemies at the same time is not good. Not bad. Eat it. Now, one thing that we haven't talked about too much when we discuss Dark Souls and its design is how enemies attack. Because there's definitely a misconception. Oh, 1 second. That was my heavy swing. Nice. 1 second, let me just deal with these guys. Ow. Must they always give me that last hit. So what I was saying was, enemies in the Souls series are built on having set attacks, meaning that there is a predetermined number of ways an enemy can attack me. No more, no less. But what they do to prevent things from being predictable is that the enemies will decide what attacks to use at random. And this is based on the position the player is, as well as what their health is, depending upon the enemy, such as bosses. Whoa! So what that means is, depending upon where I'm standing while fighting these enemies, will give me an idea of what to expect. And speedrunners try to manipulate bosses like that. But even with that said, you cannot 100% predict how an enemy works. Oh, I just did a gesture there. I didn't mean to do that. And it's important to understand just what the enemy is capable of and how to respond to it. Hopefully they won't track me. Oh, he will. Oh, that's the wrong move. Still did pretty good damage. Now I'm picking up items that don't have value right now in our play, but when we talk about the weapon design later on, they will come into factor there. I think that dog sees me. Uh-oh. Ow. Now the other thing about the whip, it's also slower, which is how they're getting those extra strikes on me. But as I was saying before that dog decided to go after me, we'll talk more about what these items mean in the next section. Now, I don't know if we're going to get to a boss fight during this play. I'm going to try to, but I'm not going to guarantee it. Again, the detail is really great, and that's true of any of the Dark Souls games, even Demon Souls on the first one. The level design is just fascinating. Get up. Again, it's just so interesting how reactive I am and how reactive they expect you to be when playing Bloodborne compared to Dark Souls 2. Now, if I didn't say this at the start, Bloodborne came out after Dark Souls 2, but before Dark Souls 3. Now, let me just put this on. Yeah, we have nothing I can really use right now. Now, I believe I'm about to get attacked. Now, there's a big guy right here. So I'm going to try to do a punishment attack on him. Nope, he saw me. Some enemies you can knock them out of their attack. Other times you just gotta go for these. The visceral attacks. But again, I need to be really careful because they expect me to react very fast in this game. Nice. Got blood vials, we got a torch, and a Molotov cocktail, which I will put on there. Fill up my health. Now, for those of you wondering, there is a set limit of the number of blood vials and bullets I can have equipped at one time. The rest go into my stockpile, which gets refreshed whenever we die. Get more items here. Now, Bloodborne, in terms of boss design, features both humanoid-style enemies, such as the Hunters, as well as monster class, you know, the giant beasts. Unfortunately, that's a shortcut which we don't have access to yet. Hello, doggy. But yeah, going from playing Dark Souls to Bloodborne, where they kind of have shield and blocking as an alternative, to this is quite jarring. But the developers did a good job of making you act reactive enough. There are no weight restrictions in Bloodborne, so there is no such thing as fat rolling, whereas your weight limit, you wear too much gear, and then you're unable to dodge properly. Now we got quite a bit of people right here. Oh, come on, ow. I almost recovered it all the way. He's coming for me, though. Come on, doggy. Just pretend I did that on purpose. That was all pre-planned. Ooh. Come on down. Again, notice how the enemies attack. Just from playing this game so much, I've built up the mental memory of what attacks to expect. However, again, I don't know what their actual pattern is going to be. They could do a charge, they could do a flurry of strikes, but I do know you need to die. I also like how the heavy attack in this game is on the quicker side. Typically, when you're using your heavy swing, it's so slow that you can't really use it for a lot of situations. In Bloodborne, everything feels very reactive. And I believe this is considered the fastest of the Dark Souls games in terms of combat and movement. The only Souls-like I'd play that probably beats us in terms of speed would be Neo. Now, there's some bad stuff up ahead. Oh, God. Can I avoid them? Because we haven't unlocked the shortcut yet. So if I die, I lose a lot of progress. Uh-oh. Please don't see me. Again, I'm playing this conservatively because I haven't touched Bloodborne in a long time. We did a stream of it on the channel where we just basically had an introspective talk about life and being on YouTube instead of focusing on the game, which was still a lot of fun. Now, as you can see, again, notice how the areas kind of overlap over each other. It's not just a straight corridor or just a wide open space. I am hoping that I will not die here. But I think there's a good chance I will. Those wolves right there are actually very tough to fight, especially at this stage of the game. So, while I run back, I can use this as an excuse to talk more about Bloodborne. The areas themselves, again, still occupy the same quote-unquote game space. I think there's a shortcut around here, now that I think about it. Is there? Again, it's been so long. Just break everything right here. So the areas connect to some extent. There are the same use of bonfires, but in this case they are lanterns that allow us to warp around. But typically I can walk from one end of Yharnam to the other. I believe there's a shortcut. There it is. Right here. And this is not the only shortcut. But this is the one that I want to open. Uh-oh. The dogs are coming for me. Hey! Let me take them out. One of the problems I had with Dark Souls 2 is that a lot of the areas just kind of lacked a sense of personality and geography. Here, because of the cityscape approach, it feels a lot easier to get your bearings, at least for me. I'm curious, for those of you watching this who have played all the Soulsborns, what do you think about the environmental design? But, let me see, there should be a permanent shortcut right here. I'm actually doing a lot better than I thought I would, considering how out of practice I am. And there's somebody in the dark. I know you think I just attacked an old man, but he was really a bad guy, too. I can hear whispers, too. Let's see. So this allows me to distract the beast-type enemies, which is actually very useful. 1 second, my phone is ringing, so I'm going to close that door. There we go. And again, I can switch between weapons. Let's see. There we go. And I may use that on those beasts to see if it will help me out. But again, very importantly, unlock those shortcuts, because without them, we lose our permanent progress. There we go. I know it is, buddy, but we're alright. And there's our shortcut. And these lanterns right here represent people I can talk to for little quests. But sorry, but we don't have the time for that right now. We gotta keep these folks entertained. Oop. So now if I die, of course, my vials, or I'm sorry, my echoes will fall on the ground where I dropped. But that's fine. Because now that the shortcut's open, we can skip a whole lot of area. Let's see, we can time it. Uh-oh. Whoa, that was close. Is it? There we go. And sometimes if you're not at the right angle, you can't get the visceral attack. Got him. there's that. What was that? Over here is a shortcut that takes us to the game's true first boss. But we're not quite at there yet. We came up here. Unless I die or return to the game's hub, titled The Hunter's Dream, the enemies will not respawn. Alright, so we drop down there. And now there's a shortcut. Actually, just for an experiment, if I can get myself back up there. Oh, now I remember. Sorry about that, I just remember how to get back up there. I'm going to try using the Pungent Blood Cocktail on the enemy and see if it will work. Or it will get me killed for your amusement. Which I guess is still good either way. There you go. So that symbol meant that it's going to my stockpile. Let's see. There we go. That's how you perform a visceral attack by backstab. Okay, the wolves are over there. There's another boss right over there. That's where I came from. So I'm going to try this, and I will probably die. Alright, they're going to get obsessed by the blood. Huh, that actually lasts quite a bit. Oh crap. But remember what I said, these guys are very reactive, and they do a lot of damage. Run! Run away! Oh boy. Oh good, he's not following me, or only one is. Come on, buddy. As long as it's one-on-one, it's not too bad. Oh, never mind, he's right there. Now there's another shortcut right over here. I almost got myself killed again, which is good. With some hidden items. Haha, you can't get me. I'm safe. That's it. And again, you really can't trade blows with enemies. Where is that gear? Here. Huh, did I miss the bonus? I think we did. There's another way to drop down where you can get new armor. As long as those wolves are going to leave me alone, I think I'm good. Whoa! Never mind. Wow. They hunt you as it goes. But yeah, those guys are no pushovers. Now there's another way to get around there from a different side. But with that said, I'm going to cut things here, and we're going to talk more about the gear and progression next. Welcome back. As you can see, I look a whole lot different than I did in the last play. This is my character that I platinumed the game with. So I'm right now on New Game Plus with him. And for here, I want to talk a little bit more about how the game handled progression compared to the other Souls-likes. One second, I just want to make sure, yeah, that's still working. So first off, in the last part, we talked about the different weapons. But now that I'm on this character, who I bought every weapon with, we can talk a little bit more about how they are different. I'm also using a combination of DLC and normal weapons. But there are far less weapons in Bloodborne than there are in the other Souls games. But they are a lot more diverse. This is a fire hammer. that I can swing with and lay it on fire, as you can see. And this is a club that turns into a badass scythe. And there are a lot more. We can take a look at a few other ones. We have a Beast Claw, Bloodlair, we have a Wheel. Here's my Boom Hammer, and there's the Lost Boom Hammer. Now, the same thing with the Souls-likes, or with the Dark Souls games, works with Bloodborne as well, in terms of attribute scaling. If you look on the right-hand side, you can see my attributes of Strength, Skill, Endurance, and so on. And as you can see under Attribute Bonus, that determines what skills or what attributes will boost that weapon. So, this Boomhammer plus 10 is pretty beefy right now. I have to get used to the controls, because each game changes the UI in terms of what commands do what. 1 second. There we go. And again, I really like this approach, compared to kind of throwing all these weapons at the player, but outside of their speed and range, they don't really operate too differently. Like, to give you another example, I'm going to put on the Kirk Hammer. Where was it? There it is. So this is a little rapier, or a sword, that can then be attached and turned into a giant mallet. And again, every weapon basically has a few sets of attack types. So you have it in Form 1, light attack, and heavy attack. You have the Form 1 transition attack. You then have Form 2 light, heavy, and then the Form 2 transition. And while it doesn't sound like there's a lot here, when every attack has its own different range and speed and damage, it adds a lot of improvisational tactics to how you play Bloodborne, compared to Dark Souls 2, where typically, or I'm sorry, to the Dark Souls series, where your only real choice is, do I one-hand or two-hand the weapon? And you think that one's crazy, take a look at this. For this character, I probably could use more endurance at this point. I mean, how do you like that? Just pretty interesting. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is how gear works. As with any of the Dark Souls games, the various kinds of gear that you can wear has different damage reduction stats, as you can see in the middle column. But, unlike Dark Souls, it's not really advised to focus on damage reduction. Like we said, Bloodborne is a game built on agility, not tanking. And because of that, while you can do some preparation based on damage reduction to what the enemy's going to do, especially stuff like poison and frenzy at the bottom, this is not a game where you will ever get to the point of being able to tank. Not even if I have my health bar, fully buffed to crazy degrees. And because of that, it creates a very interesting dynamic in Bloodborne that you are free to mix and match however you want to look, and it led into the quote-unquote Fashion Souls, or I guess in this case, Fashion Born. Now I'm going to equip one more weapon just to complete our little craziness. Now, even though you do have ranged weapons, they're more or less used for the parrying, or quote-unquote. Magic in this game is tied to specific items, such as the Cost Parasite. Let's see, we can pull this one out. I may not even be able to use it. Let's see. Again, it's been a very long time since I played this, so I think I'm doing something wrong, or I may not be able... Oh, I think I need something specific to use the Cost Parasite. But here are claws, which again, you get those different attack patterns. How do you like that? And there's a transition. Now, talking about progression in Bloodborne cannot be complete without the game's one unique factor, or actually two unique factors that separate it from the Dark Souls series. First, you have these memory slots. They basically allow you to stack passive buffs onto your character, and you unlock more memory slots as time goes on. They're not as powerful compared to other RPGs or other ARPG style games. Again, 10% more health, while it is useful, it's not exactly going to make you win or lose in the grand scheme of things. There's our various bonuses there. Oh, I almost forgot. Guns do get bonus based on your blood tinge stat in the bottom left. Now, as with the other Souls games, you can fortify weapons by applying those bloodstone shards and chunks that we saw in the last game. And of course, the higher you go, the more it's going to cost you to do so. But Bloodborne takes things in a very interesting direction. Now this allows me to create stuff for another element. And that's with the Blood Gem Fortification. How this works is, if you look in the middle row, you'll see those three weird markings at the top above physical attack. Those represent gems that I can slot in to my weapon. The gems can be randomly found, and they'll have different stats associated to them. And the idea is that I can put these gems in to enhance different attributes of my weapon. And in doing so, it can change the dynamic of it. So, for instance, I'm using a gem here that gives me plus additional physical attack. I could put something that increases the fire attack. And the gems come in different designs as well. I believe these gems are also procedurally generated, and it's just a very interesting element to this game. Like, for instance, I'm using a physical attack plus 18, but we could put something on that gives me scale. Where was it? It could raise the strength scale, but it's already high enough, so I can't really go too far with it. But of course, the more powerful the gem, usually represented by the number to the right of it, will give it more of a oomph in terms of its power. It's a very interesting idea to throw in randomly generated items as in other RPGs, but again, considering how much action-oriented Bloodborne is, it doesn't necessarily, I think, give a lot back. Not in the same way as we see in RPGs like the Diablo series, Torchlight, Grim Dawn, and so on. And finding those that can synergize with your gear and what you're doing can be difficult. Now, one other unique factor for Bloodborne are procedurally generated dungeons in the forms of these chalices. You find chalices and buy them throughout the world, and how it works is you come over here and you do a ritual where you'll decide what chalice to use based on the different categories up there. You can then choose additional modifiers based on the chalice. Let me see. I think this is the one. Yeah, I can offer additional things to make it harder and make it more rewarding. And if you want to platinum the game, you have to go all the way down to the hardest chalice. And you'll fight both or modified versions of Bloodborne bosses or original bosses to the chalice dungeons. It's a clever idea, but the level designs just never reach that same level of craftsmanship that we see in the base game. But yeah, Bloodborne definitely did things a lot differently compared to the Dark Souls series. But with that said, I'm going to head back to the main menu to discuss my final thoughts and the few issues that I have with the game next. Alright, everybody, it's time for a special bonus episode, I guess, or part for this Dissecting Design. I played some more on my own. As you can see, I have some new duds, and I'm going to show off the first boss. Hopefully I can beat him on this first try. I also kind of cheated and got around the fact that normally you're supposed to beat a boss to unlock leveling up. I used the Madman's Knowledge to give myself insight, which is with that little eye icon in the upper right. The more insight you get will reveal more about the world, and I believe it has a subtle effect on enemy difficulty. Not too much. But we only need one in order to level up, so I don't know if it's going to be enough, because again, I am out of practice, but we shall see. But enjoy the amazing music, and the fact that this is a fight that's basically between two characters of even ability, at least at the start. Let's see what happens. Also, I love the music here. Not yet, of course. There he is. Father Gascoigne. This is also the true first boss of Bloodborne. There is the other boss you can fight, but he is optional. Or it is. Here we go. Whoa. And yes, he has his own gun, too. All the hunters do. Oh, that was a fail. Alright, I'm going to try to get some visceral attacks in. But again, it's really about just learning his pattern. Nice. Even if you're like a speedrunner, this guy can still be tricky. Because again, he has multiple attacks that he will use when he sees fit. Oh crap. I couldn't break that. Oh boy. Come on. Good. He'll go into form 2 in a second, or pattern 2. We don't want him to do that. Oh, you suck. Oh, this is going to be painful.
Oh, it sings to me. It's enough to make a man sick.
Quiet, you. I'm also running out of bullets, which is not good. He doesn't have that problem, as you can tell. Alright, we got the visceral. Good. Look at him, he's trying to cheat. Hey, I was shooting you. Fiend. Alright, he's going to form 3. Shit. He's a running. Alright. The music box stuns him. Oh, balls. Boom! I didn't think I was going to beat him on my first try. Again, when it comes to these playing the bosses in either Bloodborne or Dark Souls, I don't know if I make it look easy or am I just fooling around, but that fight was a lot harder than I probably made it there. Again, all the bosses, just like the normal enemies in Bloodborne, have set attacks, but are randomly chosen based on proximity to the player. So I knew to some extent what Father Gascoigne was going to do at any time. I just didn't know when he was going to do it. And you really have to be adaptable to play a Bloodborne or just basically a Soulsborne game. I believe I could have used the pungent blood to also be an advantage there. Interestingly, this was also the first time I used the Molotov cocktails. Normally, I tend to avoid items, especially consumables, because I am a hoarder like that. But it actually worked out quite well. But again, if I had to, I could still hopefully time my strikes. And I did have bullets. You do have the emergency option to transfer blood into bullets. Like so. It's basically the idea that as long as you have health, you can still get your bullets going. Now, I believe the item that lets me upgrade my weapons is up ahead. Although I may be wrong on that front. Let's see. Treasure chest gives me... There it is. That allows me to fortify and upgrade my weapon. And then this is officially, I guess, as every Dark Souls game goes, this is where the real Bloodborne begins. But I am honestly surprised that I did it on my first try. Although, if you're watching this recorder right now, you may not believe me. Because I can just edit out all those deaths, right? But no, that was my first try doing it. And again, all the bosses in Bloodborne I really did enjoy. I think maybe the witches was a little bit boring. But the game really forces you to play on your feet, in a matter of speaking. Such as the Ludwig fight of the Old Hunters DLC. I think it took me like 15 to 20 deaths before I actually beat him on my play there. But this was just like a little mini bonus, I guess, episode. This is the person who allows us to level up, who I don't think I've shown in the previous ones. But unlike Dark Souls, where leveling up your strength or your skill also improves health, here it doesn't work. Only upgrading Vitality raises HP, and only upgrading Endurance raises Stamina. So it's not as easy to power your way through, unless you just spend a lot of time grinding. If I remember right, I believe it goes like 30-30 for strength and skill as a mean. But we can do that. Not bad. Again, I am really surprised I did it on my first go. But again, if we wanted to, I can come up here. We can go to... This allows us to slot those gems, which we haven't done yet. But then I can spend those points here. And of course raises the damage. Although I never really use guns for damage. I only really use it for the actual parrying or visceral attacks. But the power begins. Would be good. And then this little guy right here, we spend insight to buy special items. So you can buy all their hats. Again, it's just fashion born. I guess that's what we can call it. But I'm going to head back to the main menu, and we're going to discuss my final thoughts on Bloodborne and that one issue that I think I brought up earlier. Alright, lower the sound a little bit for my final thoughts on Bloodborne. As I said at the start, this is a really great game. And despite, again, being from the same developers as Dark Souls, it does just enough things differently to make it stand out. And that's kind of the main point for this week's Dissecting Design. That when it comes to such a very refined game system or core gameplay loop like a Souls-like, even little things can have massive repercussions. Imagine if Bloodborne tried to use the same kind of pacing or that slowness of Dark Souls 2 or even Dark Souls 1. The game just wouldn't work. Now, with that said, though, there is one big problem I have with Bloodborne. What makes me from just fully saying it's my favorite game of the Soulsborne series. And that's how vitals and bullets are handled. As you've seen over the past few parts, the blood vials are your health. They're your they're the analog to the Estus flask, while your bullets, besides being used for range combat, is essentially your parry system, since you do not have a shield. The problem is that they do not replenish when you go back to the Hunter's Dream. The only ways to gain more vials and more bullets are to either grind enemies in the field or buy them from the shop. And here's another little stab in the back there. The cost of vials and bullets progressively gets more expensive as you get further into the game. This is kind of meant to represent that you're getting further into the game, so you're earning more echoes, so they're becoming more expensive. And I just do not like this system for several reasons. First is that it punishes lesser skilled players. Now, what you saw over the course of this video was basically all the deaths that I've had. I did not die at all replaying Bloodborne up until past the Father Gascoigne fight. But for someone brand new, I'm sure they died a lot more than that. I know when I first started playing Bloodborne, that's better, I died a lot there. And those deaths mean lost echoes. And it also means if you're not able to gather the vials or bullets that you're missing, you're going to be in a bad position. The other reason why I don't like them is that they again create that hoarding syndrome that we've talked about on other videos, especially on the Critical Thought vlogs, where I'm not going to go all in on a fight because what if I use those vials and I need them for something else? Or what if I'm running out of bullets, how am I supposed to fight those bosses? Now again, you saw that I can use health to create those bullets, but it runs into that situation where if you're dying at a boss, you need both health and bullets to survive. Now, one point I'm sure any pro players who I mentioned below is that if you're good enough at Bloodborne, you're not going to run into that situation. And again, Bloodborne, I think to me, has a higher skill curve compared to Dark Souls. Because again, here, you cannot tank, you cannot block. So it's dodge or die. Which is why health is so much more important, because you don't have any other buffer. But with this system, I think it kind of betrays one of the core elements of what makes Dark Souls so fair. And that's the fact that I know I can go all in when it comes to my basic items. Again, your healing, or in Dark Souls 3, your magic, because those flasks will be restored at the nearest bonfire. Imagine playing Dark Souls 3 and you had to spend souls each time you wanted to refill your Estus, with the cost going up the further you got into the game. It would create a completely different dynamic. Now, I do think I know why they did it with Bloodborne as a money, or I guess quote-unquote money sink, because there really isn't a lot to spend on echoes in this game. Your gear, again, doesn't have that big of a deal, and once you buy a weapon, because they are so unique, it's not like I'm buying 15 different canes or 14 different boom hammers. But it just seems like an unnecessary strain on the player's resources. And I'm curious, for those of you, again, who have played both Bloodborne and Dark Souls, what do you think about that? But with that said, we're going to wrap things up. Now, I'm sure one question everybody's going to ask is, what do you prefer, Dark Souls or Bloodborne? And I think it depends on, on the time of the day or the size of the moon, because I tend to flip-flop between the two. But for those of you watching, I'm going to throw it back to you. Which game did you prefer? Do you like the variety of weapons and builds you can have in Dark Souls, or do you prefer this more streamlined yet still very refined take with Bloodborne? What I think is very amazing is that From Software has managed to basically take the franchise that put them on the map for a lot of people and kind of split it into two distinct franchises. And one thing I didn't mention, I want to pull up here in case someone's going to comment below, is that Bloodborne also features a lot of kooky stuff in this. There's a lot more Lovecraftian horror when it comes to this game, and people have described this pretty much as a horror experience almost, so this could easily be a horror game. And maybe that's why I tend to like it so much. But that's going to do it for this week's Dissecting Design. I hope you enjoyed it. I put these up at least once a week, usually on Monday. But otherwise, be sure to check back for daily discussions on game design here, and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. Once again, if you haven't figured it out by that big old title screen, this has been Bloodborne. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Before we get to the credits, just wanted to give a quick thank you and shout out to the supporters over on patreon.com/gwbicer. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check back around 10 Eastern for regular streaming. If you'd like to suggest games for me to cover or topics to talk about, let me know in the comments below. For a collection of my writings as well as weekly podcasts on design, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the Game Wisdom Patreon, you can find us on there on patreon.com/gwbicer. $1 will get you into our private Discord channel where we talk game topics and more. $5 will get you voting privileges for any major event, including the Saturday Night Grab Bag, Patreon-funded goals, and more. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoy more videos here on the Game Wisdom YouTube channel.